too fast. Release. There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Alonzo the Vet, wife, Jay the Vet. So we're about to get started in Judges chapter 17. This is from Genesis to Revelation, part 21. Okay, now you can hear me. Okay, anyway. Alonzo the Vet, my wife, Jay the Vet. And so we're about to get started in Judges chapter 17. And I was saying a little news. I just posted Timmy and myself, so Cole Ministries collaboration. We did a video talking about the conditions to unconditional love. And you can find that on my YouTube. You can find that on Cole Ministries YouTube. And you can find that on the Bible app, the Cole Bible app. And so give that a watch, give that a view. We've been referencing that recording for a while, but we haven't actually posted it. But it is posted now for you to be able to watch it. And what else have we done? Obviously, yesterday we had the Cole Bible study, so be sure to go back and watch that. We had a little technical difficulties 2 weeks ago, but we figured out why. And this week's episode should not have any visual problems. The outreach went spectacular. It went amazing. It really helped with the fellowship between like everybody that attends the Bible studies. What's the word? I guess unity. And being on one accord, it really helped with that. Like it brought a new level of unity amongst us all. And if you're watching that from being one of the people that came to help out with that, we do appreciate your obedience and labor of love to serve God and to minister unto the saints and those who are to be saints. Anything else that's going on? Oh yes, and we have our pot blessing coming up this coming Monday, August. Is it August? No, September 3rd. I don't keep up with dates too much.
September 2nd.
September 2nd. So if you are watching from the Bible study, that's just a little reiteration. But nevertheless,
it starts at 6:30. It's not 7. So get there at like 6.
Yeah, and my wife has her voice back. So
yes,
there's that as well, glory to God.
Mm-hmm.
But let us continue. Let me share my screen, put the Bible up. I didn't set that up before, but I'll do that now. Then we'll get to reading. And Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us eyes that see and ears that hear so that we can obtain and retain your word. Father, expound the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding behind your scripture to us. Give us light so that we may arise and shine. For your glory has come upon us, and so that we can glorify you and produce fruit with the word of God that you are revealing to us. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we just got off of the story, or I guess not really a story, but the event that happened with, do you remember his name?
The event that happened with
7 Locks?
Oh, Solomon?
No.
Dang, what was his name? Let's start with.
Start with X. See your name.
Second.
Hey,
I know it.
you do.
Samson.
Yeah, there you go.
Why did I think Solomon?
Because it both started with an S. So we just got off of the event that happened with Samson and how that ultimately ended up with him. Now, I was saying the Bible still includes him in like the hall of faith in Hebrews chapter 11. So, I mean, maybe God was pleased with that at the end of the day. Different covenants, different priesthood. At the end of his life, he still did what God made him to do. So there was faith there. Nevertheless, we're picking up with Micah's idolatry, right? We're reading out the NASB 2020. So if you want to read along with us, you can do that there, or you can just look on your screen and listen. So we're about to begin. In verse 1 of Judges chapter 17, it says, Now there was a man of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, the 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, about which you uttered a curse, and also spoke it in my hearing, behold, the silver is with me. I took it. And his mother said, Blessed be my son by the 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you. And he heard her utter a curse, and he says, I'm the one that took it. Now so there's a woman, right? This mother of this guy Micah. Somebody took this much silver from her, 1,100, and she said a curse. Now Micah heard it though, and he came forward and said that he's the one that took it. And now his mother said, Blessed be my son by the Lord. He then returned the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother, and his mother said, I wholly consecrate this silver from my hand to the Lord for my son to make a carved image and a cast metal image, so now I will return them to you. So she took it back. It sounds like they're about to make an idol though, but we got to keep reading. And she gives it back to her son Micah. So when he returned the silver to his mother took 200 pieces of silver and gave them to the silversmith, who made them into a carved image and a cast metal image, and they were in the house of Micah. So yeah, that's what they did. And the man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and household idols, and consecrated one of his sons so that he might become his priest. In those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Now there was a young man from Bethlehem in Judah, of the family of Judah, who was a Levite, and he was staying there. There was a young man in Bethlehem in Judah, of the family of a guy named Judah, and he was a Levite. We just have to keep reading. And he was staying there. And the man left the city, Bethlehem in Judah, the place called Judah, of the family of somebody named after Judah, but this guy was a Levite. And the man left the city, Bethlehem, he left Bethlehem that was in Judah, to stay wherever he would find a place. And as he made his journey, he came to the hill country of Ephraim, to the house of Micah. So somebody came from this place, and he ended up at Micah's house. Micah said to him, Where do you come from? And he said to him, I am a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, and I am going to stay wherever I may find a place. Micah then said to him, Stay with me and be a father and a priest to me, and I will give you 10 pieces of silver a year, a supply of clothing and a supply of clothing and your sustenance. So the Levite went in. The Levite agreed to live with the man, and the young man became to him like one of his sons. So Micah consecrated the Levite, and the young man became his priest and lived in the house of Micah. Then Micah said, Now I know that the Lord will prosper me, because I have a Levite as a priest. And so this all seems backwards, but we got to pick up on what it said. I forget what verse. Verse 6. There was no king in Israel, so everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And this is what people are doing. What seems right to them, they're doing it. So if this chapter seems goofy to you, well, that's why. There's no central leader. There's no visionary. And so everyone's doing what they think is right. Okay, let's keep going. In those days there was no king in Israel, and in those days the tribe of the Danites was seeking an inheritance for themselves to live in, for until that day an inheritance had not been allotted to them as a possession among the tribes of Israel. True. So the sons of Dan sent from their families 5 men out of their whole number, valiant men from Zorah and Eshtal, to spy out the land and to explore it. And they said to them, Go explore the land. And they came to the hill country in Ephraim, to the house of Micah, and stayed overnight there. When they were near the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young man, the Levite, and they turned aside there and said to him, Who brought you here? And what are you doing in this place? And what do you have here? He said to them, Micah has done this and that for me, and he has hired me, and I have become his priest. Then they said to him, Inquire of God, please, that we may know whether our way on which we are going will be successful. And the priest said to them, Go in peace, your way in which you are going has the Lord's approval. So the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people who were in it living in security in the way of the Sidonians, quiet and unsuspecting, for there was no oppressive ruler humiliating them for anything in the land. And they were far from the Sidonians and had no dealings with anyone. So they came to the place, Laish, and saw people who were living in security in the manner of Sidonians. They weren't oppressed nor humiliated where they were, because they were far away from the Sidonians and they had no dealings with anybody. So essentially, they were secure in peace. It says, when they came back to their brothers at Zor and Eshtaol, their brothers said to them, "What do you say?" And they said, "Arise, and let's go up against those people, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And will you sit still? Do not hesitate to go, to enter, to take possession of the land." Talking about Laish. It says, when you enter, you will come to an unsuspecting people with a spacious land, for God has handed it over to you, a place where there is no lack of anything that is on the earth. Then from the families of the Danites from Zorah and Eshtaol, 600 men armed with weapons of war set out. They went up and camped in Kirioth Jearim in Judah. Therefore they called that place Mahana Dan to this day. Behold, it is west of that place. And they passed from there to the hill country of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah. Then the 5 men who went to spy out the country of Laish said to their kinsmen, "Do you know that there are in these houses an ephod and household idols, and a carved image and a cast metal image? Now then, consider what you should do." So they turned aside there and came to the house of the young man, the Levite, to the house of Micah, and asked him how he was doing. Excuse me. Meanwhile, the 600 armed men with their weapons of war, who were of the sons of Dan, were positioned at the entrance of the gate. I did not get it.
Oh, what the?
I just knew if I did it theatrically towards you, I'd get it, and that's exactly what happened. 17. Now the 5 men who went to spy out the land went up and entered there. They took the carved image and ephod, the household idols, and the cast metal image, while the priest was standing at the entrance of the gate with the 600 men armed with weapons of war. There should have been a comma there somewhere. Right here.
Well,
Yeah. When these men entered Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, household idols, and the cast metal image, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" And they said to him, "Be silent, put your hand over your mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. It is better for you to be a priest to the house of one man. Is it better for you to be the priest of the house of one man, or to be the priest to a tribe and a family in Israel?" The priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, household idols, and carved image, and went among the people. So, starts off with Micah. Micah steals his mom's silver, gives it back, so his mom was like, "Okay, here, have a little bit of it." Then he goes and makes this guy make an idol and stuff for him. And then after that, he goes and gets himself a priest, to be a priest unto himself, this guy named Micah. Now, after a while, people keep visiting Micah's house, and they find people from Dan, this tribe called Dan, who have no inheritance. They didn't get any land, but they want land. And so the group of them formed. They were just traveling, searching stuff out, and they come to Micah's house, see there's a priest there. And so the priest kind of blesses them on their journey trying to find the land. And then they go back to their home country. After they find a good spot, they go and gather more people. Then they head back to Micah's house, and basically they just took the priest from Micah. I don't know where this is going, though. I don't remember the story at all. So the verse 20, the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, the household, everything, right? And went with the people from the Dan tribe. Then they turned and left, and put the children, livestock, and the valuables in front of them. But they had distanced themselves from Micah's house. The men who were in the house, near Micah's house, assembled by command and overtook the sons of Dan. It was like 600 of them, so that's interesting. Then they called out to the sons of Dan, who turned around and said to Micah, "What is the matter with you, that you have assembled together?" And he said, "You have taken my gods, which I made, and the priests, and have gone away. What more do I have? So how can you say to me, what is the matter with you?" Then the sons of Dan said to him, "Do not let your voice be heard among us, or else fierce men will attack you, and you will lose your life and the lives of your household." So the sons of Dan went on their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. Okay, when he said he overtook them, it sounded as if he came with numbers, but he just came by himself. Then they took what Micah had made, and the priests who had belonged to him, and came to Laish to a people quiet and unsuspecting, and struck them with the edge of the sword, and they burnt the city with fire. And there was no one to save them, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no dealings with anybody, and it was in the valley which is near Beth Rahab. Beth Rahab. There we go. I mean, look at that, right? It says, why did these people, I mean, I don't know whose side is good in this story yet, but it says the people of Laish, they lost because they had no dealings with anybody. They were just by themselves, by their lonely, right? They were just, you know, hey Desiree,
Hello.
our mics are not on. Sound like mics are static sound or something. I do have a fan going, but it might just be, it could be my computer too. But it is my computer actually. It is doing its thing. But I'm sure you guys can still hear pretty fine. So, what was I saying? I'll say it this way. Now, I don't know which party is in the right here yet, so I'm not really drawing lines. But it did, like, when I read this, it says that these people, there was nobody to save them because they were far from everybody else, right? They had no dealings with anyone. And so because they stuck to themselves and they had no friends, when they fell, there was nobody to pick them up. And that's literally how some Christians believe themselves to be. That's why some Christians don't go to church, because in their mind they're thinking to themselves that I don't need all of this or I don't need all of that. And I'm fine by myself. Like, I don't need a body to be a part of, but the church is literally a body. And no part of the body is able to function by itself. Even the part that controls everything else, it can't function by itself. A brain by itself, unless you're in a comic book, is not going to function. A finger by itself is not going to accomplish anything. A hand by itself is not going to accomplish anything. And we have to start seeing ourselves as a body. And I'm just inspired to say this from what happened to Laish, because they were able to be overtaken simply because they did not associate with anyone else. There was no one to come to their rescue because they had no dealings with anyone. And so I'm not saying that you need to, like, stop leaving church as soon as you're dismissed and not talk to anybody. But what I am saying is, as a body, if you are a believer or a Christian, where you don't actually have a group to fellowship with, you are in danger. Because when push comes to shove, or the devil, is allowed to test you or to come and try you, if you end up falling, you're going to stay down because there's no one to pick you up. And I'll say it this way, that's not inevitable, but I will say, if you do end up falling,
sorry. That's why you do that. I'm trying to, every time you talk, make sure to, like, do that.
well, you do that.
I can't do that.
Okay.
I'll do it.
If you are by yourself, but you're called to be a part of the body, if you end up falling, you risk the outcome of not getting back up, because you have separated yourself from everybody else that you were called to be with. And the thing about being separated is something can only be separated if it was meant to be together. So as we are a body is meant to be together. So we are not supposed to be separated from one another. And so don't get confused with being separate from this group of non-believers that are unequally yoked. Don't get confused from being separate from the world to also meaning that I need to separate myself from a like-minded group of believers. Now, there might be a group of believers that might not believe the way you do. They might not believe certain parts of doctrine that you believe in, full gospel type stuff. But that doesn't mean don't go to church. You need to ask the Lord. You need to get in your prayer closet. Ask God to reveal to you a place that you can go. We're full of like-minded believers where the pastor or the leader there has a vision that you can get behind. Or else you run the risk of ending up like Laish. When something comes unsuspecting to you, you're not ready for it, and it overtakes you and you don't get back up because you have no dealings with anyone. So nobody knew that you were even going through anything. You had nobody to pray with you. You had nobody to touch and agree with. You had no one to come and lay hands on you. There should be no reason as a body that we function that way. And always keep in mind, we are called to be a body. So again, but I don't really know who's in the right here. So let's keep reading though. Desiree, let me know how the sound sounds now. Let me close something that might not need to be open. Close this, and I'll close this. CapCut's open? No, it's not. All right, let's continue. Let me do this. Boom. So, 28. And there was no one to save them because it was far from Sidon, and they had no dealing with anyone. And it was in the valley which was near Beth-rehob. So they rebuilt the city and lived in it, and they named the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, who was born to Israel. However, the name of the city was previously Laish. The son of Dan set up for themselves a carved image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danites until the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up for themselves Micah's carved image, which he had made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. Okay, so we'll probably have to come back to this. Now it came, yes, you read the title. Judges 19, verse 1. Now it came about in those days, there was no king in Israel, and there was a certain Levite staying in the remote part of the hill country of Ephraim, who took a concubine for himself from Bethlehem in Judah. But his concubine found him repugnant, and she left him and went to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah. It's the same, but I'm tuning it out. But it definitely sounds like a computer fan. I thought the mics weren't on because it sounded slightly echoed. Let me check some settings. Oh. All right, it's fixed now. I didn't actually have it set to my mics. So we were using the built-in mic for the laptop, but it should sound like it usually sounds now. I should have known to check that. All right, you guys, so back to crisp quality live streaming. So there's a priest, he takes a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but the concubine finds him repugnant, and she goes back to her father's house, back to Bethlehem in Judah, and she remained there for 4 months. Verse 3, then her husband set out and went after her to speak gently to her in order to bring her back, taking with him his servant and a pair of donkeys, and she brought him into her father's house. And when the girl's father saw him, he was glad to meet him. His father-in-law, the girl's father, prevailed, glory to God, upon him. Oh, wait. So the woman brought him into the father's house, and as soon as her father saw him, the father was glad to meet her husband. Now so the girl's dad prevailed upon him, and he remained with him for 3 days. Okay, prevailed must not mean prevailed, the way I'm thinking about it. So the guy convinces him to stay. He stays for 3 days. So they ate and drank and stayed there. Now on the 4th day, they got up early in the morning, and he prepared to go. But the girl's father said to the son-in-law, strengthen yourself with a piece of bread, and afterward you may go. So both of them sat down and ate and drank together. And the girl's father said to the man, please be so kind as to spend the night, and let your heart be cheerful. However, that man got up to go, but his father-in-law urged him, and he spent the night there again. Now on the 5th day, he got up to go early in the morning, but the girl's father said, please strengthen yourself, wait until late afternoon. So both of them ate. When the man got up to go, along with his concubine and servant, his father-in-law, the girl's father said to him, behold, now the day has drawn to a close, please spend the night. Behold, the day is coming to an end. Spend the night here so that your heart may be cheerful. Then tomorrow you may arise early for your journey and go home. But the man was unwilling to spend the night, so he got up and left, and came to a place opposite of Jebus, that is Jerusalem. And with him was a pair of saddled donkeys. His concubine also was with him. When they were near Jerusalem, the day was almost gone, and the servant said to his master, please come and let's turn aside into the city of the Jebusites and spend the night in it. However, his master said to him, we will not turn aside into a city of foreigners who are not of the sons of Israel. Instead, we will go on as far as Gibeah. And he said to his servant, come and let's approach on one of these places. and we will spend the night in Gibeah or Ramah. So they passed along and went their way, and the sun set on them near Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. They turned aside to enter and spend the night in Gibeah. When they entered, they sat down in the public square of the city, for no one took them into his house to spend the night. Then behold, that's interesting. They went to a place among their people, and nobody welcomed them. Then behold, an old man was coming out of the field from his work at evening. Now the man was from the hill country of Ephraim, and he was staying in Gibeah. But the men of the place were Benjamites. And he raised his eyes and saw the traveler in the public square of the city. And the old man said, "Where are you going?" That's my old man voice. "And where do you come from?" And he said to him, "We are passing from Bethlehem in Judah to the remote part of the hill country of Ephraim, for I am from there. And I went to Bethlehem in Judah, but I am now going to my house, and no one will take me into his. Yet there is both straw and feed for our donkeys, and also bread and wine for me and your female slave. And the young man who was with your servants, there is no lack of anything." Then the old man said, "Peace to you, only let me take care of all your needs. However, do not spend the night in the public square." So he took him into his house and fed the donkeys, and they washed their feet and ate and drank. So the guy went to go back to get his wife. The wife's father made him stay longer than he wanted to stay. He finally gets to go. They camp, or not camp, but they end up in a place called Gibeah. They're looking for a place to stay, and an old man welcomes them. This guy, his servant, and his concubine, slave wife type deal. 22. While they were celebrating, behold, the men of the city, certain worthless, what does it say? So worthless men surrounded the house, pushing one another at the door. And they spoke to the owner of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who entered your house, that we may have relations with him." Then the man, the owner of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my brothers, please do not act so wickedly. Since the man has come into my house, do not commit this vile sin. He is my virgin daughter." Wait.
Here.
Thank you. I was like, wait a minute. I'm seeing through, no, never mind, I'm gonna make that joke. "Here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine." He sounds just like Lot. "Please let me bring them out, then rape them and do to them whatever you wish. But do not commit this act of vile sin against this man." But the men could not listen to him, so the man seized his concubine and brought her outside to them. And they, wait.
Wait, what? Who's saying this?
So some Benjamite, wait, is that what I'm reading? Did I read that correctly?
"Here is my virgin daughter."
Yeah, so that's the old man.
Why would he do that?
I mean, you got to ask a Jew. I don't
literally
understand. You have to ask a Jewish person. I don't know. I don't know.
Some guy wanted to be like gay and like.
Yes. So remember, there was no central leader during this time period. So the people did whatever they wanted to do. Now, they gave us the euphemism that there was no king in Israel, so the people did what was right in their own eyes. That's another way of saying people did wickedly. And so when the old man showed them kindness, and other men came because they saw the people. I mean, this was a dangerous place, Gibeah. So some other worthless men came. They wanted to rape the guy. But it says, then the man, the owner of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my brothers, please do not act so wickedly. Since the man has come into my house, do not commit this vile sin." Now his answer to that is, "Here, have my virgin daughter and the man's concubine."
What's concubine?
The men some random people came up to the old guy's house and they want to rape.
No, what's concubine?
It's literally like understood to be a slave wife.
Oh. And this guy's wife, pretty much, he offered up.
Yes.
His own.
Hold on, let me look up. Oh wait, no, look it up in the lexicon. Because let me figure this out too. Do I condone anything that's going on right now? No, but will I want to understand it? Yes. So the Webster says, a woman with whom a man cohabits without being married.
So like a girlfriend.
I guess so, yeah. Wow. So being a boyfriend or a girlfriend and living together, you're basically concubine. Wait, but we want to figure out what does it say. This is Judges what, 19?
Yeah.
What happened here? I messed it up. Here we go. Judges 19, verse
24.
24. So we're going to figure out what concubine means in the original language. This doesn't help. But paramour. So let me look up paramour. And I know that's the name of some rock band. So I'm going to put paramour meaning. Paramour. Partner in sexual relationship other than that of husband and wife. Okay.
Yeah, literally just boyfriend, girlfriend.
Sexually active boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yep.
The thing is,
Worldly.
it referred to her as his wife in the previous chapter. One instance. But all right, let's just get through this story, you guys. So old guy goes, here, take my daughter and take his sex slave, right? Please let me bring them out, then rape them and do to them whatever you wish. See, you see where it says here? It says, what's good in your eyes? It's just a euphemism for wickedness. But do not commit this act of vile sin against this man. But the men would not listen to the old guy. So the old guy seized the concubine and brought her outside to them. And they raped her and abused her all night until morning, then let her go at the approach of dawn. As the day began to dawn, the woman came and fell down at the doorway of the man's house where her master was until full daylight. When her master got up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go on his way, then behold, his concubine was lying at the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, get up and let's go. But there was no answer. Then he put her on the donkey, and the man set out and went to his home. When he entered his house, he took a knife and seized his concubine and cut her in 12 pieces, limb by limb. Then he sent her throughout the territory of Israel. All who saw it said, nothing like this has ever happened or been seen from the day when the sons of Israel came up from the land of Egypt to this day. Consider it, make a plan, and speak up. Consider it and take counsel. Okay. All the sons of Israel from Dan to Beersheba, including the land of Gilead, came out, and the congregation assembled as one person to the Lord at Mizpah. And the leaders of all the people, all the tribes of Israel, took their stand in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 foot soldiers who drew the sword. Now the sons of Benjamin heard that the sons of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. And the sons of Israel said, tell us, how did this wickedness take place? So the Levite, the husband of the woman who was murdered, right? She's referring to him as a husband. So there's a context there that we don't have now, but it's there. Answered and said, I came with my concubine to spend the night at Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. But the citizens of Gibeah rose up against me and surrounded the house at night, threatening me. They intended to kill me. Instead, they raped my concubine so that she died. And I took hold of my concubine, cut her into pieces, sent her throughout the land of Israel's inheritance, for they have committed an outrageous sin and a vile act in Israel. Behold, all you sons of Israel, give your response and advice here. Then all the people rose up as one person, saying, not one of us will go to his tent, nor will any of us go home. But now this is a thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up against it by lot, and we will take 10 men out of 100 throughout the tribes of Israel, and 100 out of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000 to supply provision for the people, so that when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, they may punish them for all the vile sin that they, I lost my spot, what did I do? All the vile sin that they have committed in Israel. Verse 11, let me scroll up. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, united as one man. Then the tribes of Israel sent men through the entire tribe of Benjamin, saying, what is this wickedness that has taken place among you? Now then, turn over the men, the worthless men, who are in Gibeah, so that we may put them to death and remove this wickedness from Israel. But the sons of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the sons of Israel. Instead, the sons of Benjamin gathered from the city of Gibeah to go out to battle against the sons of Israel. For the cities on that day From the cities on that day, the sons of Benjamin were counted, 26,000 men who drew the sword, besides the inhabitants of Gibeah, who were counted 700 choice men. Out of all these people, 700 choice men were left-handed. Each one could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Then the men of Israel, besides Benjamin, were counted 400,000 men who drew the sword. All of these were men of war. Now the sons of Israel set out, went up to Bethel, and inquired of God and said, who shall go up first for us to battle against the sons of Benjamin? Then the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. So the sons of Israel got up in the morning and camped against Gibeah. The men of Israel went to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel lined up for battle against them at Gibeah. Then the sons of Benjamin came out of Gibeah and struck to the ground on that day 22,000 men in Israel. So Benjamin killed 22,000, the people that did the raping. But the people, the men of Israel, showed themselves courageous and lined up for battle against the place where they had lined themselves up on the first day. And the sons of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until evening and inquired of the Lord, saying, shall we again advance for battle against the sons of my brother Benjamin? And the Lord said, go up against him. So the sons of Israel came against the sons of Benjamin on the second day. Did I miss something? No. Okay. And okay. On the second day, verse 25, and Benjamin went out against them from Gibeah the second day and struck to the ground again 18,000 men to the sons of the sons of Israel. All of these drew the sword. Then all the sons of Israel and all the people went up and came to Bethel, and they wept and remained there before the Lord and fasted that day until evening. And they offered burnt offerings and peace. You know, when I fast, that's usually what I do. I just fast till evening if I do fast. And they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the sons of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, who was Aaron's son, stood before it to minister in those days, saying, shall I yet again go out to battle against the sons of my brother Benjamin, or shall I stop? And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will hand them over to you. This is what happens after they fast till evening. So Israel set men in ambush around Gibeah, and the sons of Israel went up against the sons of Benjamin on the third day and lined up against Gibeah as at other times. When the sons of Benjamin went out against the people, they were lured away from the city, and they began to strike and kill some of the people as at other times. On the roads, one of which goes to Bethel and the other to Gibeah, and in the field about 30 men of Israel. And the sons of Benjamin said, they are defeated before us like the first time. But the sons of Israel said, let's flee so that we may draw them away from the city to the roads. Then all the men of Israel rose up from the place and lined up at Baal Tamar, and the men of Israel in ambush charged from their place from Marageba. When the 10,000 choice men from all Israel came against Gibeah, the battle became fierce, but Benjamin did not know that disaster was close to them. And the Lord struck Benjamin before Israel, so that the sons of Israel destroyed 25,100 men of Benjamin that day, all who drew the sword. So the sons of Benjamin saw that they were defeated, when the men of Israel gave ground to Benjamin, because they relied on the men in ambush whom they had set against Gibeah. It says, the men in ambush hurried and rushed against Gibeah. The men in ambush also deployed and struck all the city with the edge of the sword. Now the agreed sign between the men of Israel and the men in ambush was that they would make a great cloud of smoke arise from the city. Then the men of Israel turned in the battle, and Benjamin began to strike and kill about 30 men of Israel, for they said, undoubtedly they are defeated before us as in the first time. But when the cloud began to rise from the city in a column of smoke, Benjamin looked behind them, and behold, the entire city was going up in smoke to heaven. Then the men of Israel turned, and the men of Benjamin were terrified, for they saw that disaster was close to them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel to flee in the direction of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them, while those who attacked from the cities were annihilating them in the midst of them. They surrounded Benjamin, pursued them without rest, and trampled them down opposite Gibeah toward the east. So 18,000 men of Benjamin fell. All of these were valiant men. The rest turned and fled toward the wilderness to the rock of Ramon. But they caught 5,000 of them on the roads and overtook them at Gidom and killed 2,000 of them. So all those of Benjamin who fell that day were 25,000 men who drew the sword, all who were valiant men. But 600 men turned and fled toward the wilderness to the rock of Ramon, and they remained at the rock of Ramon for 4 months. The men of Israel then turned back against the sons of Benjamin and struck them with the edge of the sword, both the entire city and with the cattle and all that they had found. But they also set on fire all the cities which they found. Okay, so what happened after the story of the guy went to go get his wife, tarried at the father's house, ended up in the city of Benjamites who tried to rape him. Instead, they rape his concubine and he kill her. Then he cuts the concubine up as a message and sends it to all the tribes. Then that summons everybody in Mizpah, and then they inquire of God. Then that basically starts a war between the rest of the tribes and Benjamin's tribe. But instead of giving over the guys who raped her, Benjamin decided we're just going to go to war, all of us, against the rest of the brothers. But Benjamin had better warriors, and they were winning for 2 days. Then on the third day, the rest of them end up fasting until evening, and then they go and inquire of God, what should they do? And God says, go up against them, because today I'm giving them to you. And then they come up with a great strategy or whatever. God gives them a plan, and they basically end up defeating Benjamin, who went to war to protect rapists. All right.
Who beat Benjamin?
The rest of the tribes set themselves against Benjamin.
Oh.
So that was the outcome of that. Verse 1 of chapter 21. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, none of us shall give his daughter to Benjamin in marriage. So the people came to Bethel and sat there before God until evening and raised their voice and wept profusely. And they said, why, Lord, God of Israel, has this happened in Israel that one tribe is missing today from Israel? And it came about the next day that the people got up early and built an altar there and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then the sons of Israel said, who is there among all the tribes of Israel who did not go up to the Lord in the assembly? For they had taken a solemn oath concerning anyone who did not go up to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, he shall certainly be put to death. Okay, good. So what's happened so far is the men said, we're not going to give any of our daughters to any Benjamite, because basically they want to wipe Benjamin's tribe off the face of the earth. Then some people don't like that, because they're like, why would you want to do that? You know, why should the tribe of Israel be missing today? And then they change the subject, and they want to know who didn't come up to Mizpah with us, because they said that whoever doesn't come, Mizpah was where they went to inquire of God. This is a place God set for them to call for him. And so they said, whoever didn't come with us is supposed to be put to death. And the sons of Israel were sorry for their brother Benjamin and said, today one tribe is cut off from Israel. It says, what are we to do for wives for those who are left, since we have sworn by the Lord not to give them any of our daughters as wives? And they said, what is there of the tribes of Israel that did not go up to the Lord at Mizpah? Okay. And behold, no one had come to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For when the people were counted, behold, not one of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead was there. And the congregation sent 12,000 of the valiant warriors there and commanded them, saying, go and strike the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, along with the women and the children. And this is the thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman who was slept with a male. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins who had not known a man by sleeping with him. And they brought them to the camp of Shiloh, which was in the land of Canaan. It says, then the whole congregation sent word and spoke to the sons of Benjamin who were at the rock of Ramon and proclaimed peace to them. And the tribe of Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women okay. So, let me finish reading and I'll explain. And the tribe of Benjamin returned at that time, and they gave them the women whom they had allowed to live from the women of Jabesh Gilead, but they were not enough for them. And the people were sorry for Benjamin, because the Lord had created a gap in the tribes of Israel. So after they had the whole war with Benjamin, the Benjamin tribe, they went back to inquire of God at Mizpah. But the thing is, they said, whoever does not come, we're going to put them to death. And turns out these people from Jabesh Gilead didn't come up to Mizpah with everybody else. And so they went over to that place, They killed all the men and all the women who had sex. Then they took all the virgins, and because the people were upset, or some people were saddened that Benjamin's tribe would be wiped out, they went and they gave, what am I trying to say? They went and gave the women from Jabesh Gilead, the virgin women, to the remaining sons of Benjamin, who were in this place called Ramon. So that's how they settled that. So after they had defeated Benjamin, some people were saying, we don't even want Benjamin to be a tribe anymore. We want them to die out. Because the only thing left of Benjamin was the men that fled from the battle to Ramon. But because they had already made this oath that whoever doesn't come to Mizpah to meet with everybody else, we're going to put them to death. Because they already swore that oath, to appease the people that didn't want Benjamin to be wiped out completely, they killed certain people from a city that didn't come to Mizpah with the rest of the congregation. Then they took the virgins from that place and they gave them to the men who were like refugees from a war that belonged to the tribe of Benjamin. Then the whole congregation sent word and spoke to the sons of Benjamin who were at the rock of Ramon and proclaimed peace to them. And when the tribe of Benjamin returned, they gave them the women that they allowed to live from Jabesh Gilead. It says, but they were not enough, and the people were sorry for Benjamin because the Lord had created a gap in the tribes of Israel. It says, then the elders of the congregation said, what are we to do for wives for those who are left, since the women have been eliminated from Benjamin? And they said, there must be an inheritance for the survivors of Benjamin so that a tribe will not be wiped out from Israel. But we cannot give them wives from our daughters, for the sons of Israel have sworn, saying, cursed is he who gives a wife to Benjamin. So they said, behold, there is a feast of the Lord from year to year in Shiloh, which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the road that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south side of Lebanon. And they commanded the sons of Benjamin, saying, go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and watch and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to take part in the dances, then ye shall come out to the vineyards, and each of you shall seize his wife from the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And when their fathers or their brothers come to complain to us, we shall say to them, give them to us voluntarily, because we did not take for each man of Benjamin a wife in battle, nor did you give them to them. Otherwise, you would now be guilty. Okay. The sons of Benjamin did so and took wives according to the numbers from those who danced, whom they seized. And they went and returned to their inheritance and rebuilt the cities and lived in them. So I don't know why it played out this way. None of this makes sense to me. But certain people were then upset because now Benjamin's tribe is very small and they can't really reproduce in comparison to the other tribes, because they lost that war that badly, that every Benjamite woman was literally killed. And so because they allowed the Benjamites to remain, well, now there's this whole disparity. But the thing is, these people swore that we're not going to give any of our daughters to any Benjamite as a wife. But they gave the Benjamites a loophole. They said during the feast at Shiloh, just go and literally kidnap a woman. And then we're going to say to the fathers or the households of these women that they didn't win the woman through battle, nor did we give them the woman as a, give them to us voluntarily, because we did not take for each man of Benjamin a wife in battle, nor did you give them to them. Otherwise, you would now be guilty. Okay. Man, what am I trying to say? It's a very different way that is tolerable to treat women in this day. I don't fully understand it to be able to really explain it, but yeah. It is definitely a side piece, Desiree. All right, so again, none of this is really supposed to make any sense, because verse 25, In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So there was a day that came. Oh, we're in Ruth now. Nice. It's a good one.
What's Ruth about?
You don't know what Ruth is about?
Nope.
It's about Ruth, baby. But we'll read it though. It's a good one.
Can you give me a trailer?
Yes. So there is this Israelite woman who ends up starting a family in a land that's not her own. And basically there's like a curse of death in her family. And all the men in her family die. And now she's just left with the wives of her 2 sons. But she's like, hey, y'all have no allegiance to me. Y'all can go do whatever is right in your own eyes. But then Ruth decides, no, wherever you go, I go. Your God will be my God. She says it very poetically. I might even have to read that verse in the King James Version. But all right, that's how Judges ends. So the people are literally crazy. If you just leave people to do whatever is right in their own eyes, you'd be living in Fallout 76. That's what Jonathan says.
Oh.
But, I mean, Judges ended crazy, right? But we're out of that. Let's get into Ruth and let's read about this. Can we finish Ruth today?
How long is it?
It's not very long.
How many?
But anyway,
No.
this is a more redeeming story.
Okay.
So yeah, let's just get started. I don't really have anything to say about the end of Judges, to be honest.
Oh, it's only 4.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to be wrong. All right, here we go. So now it came about in the days when the judges governed that there was a famine in the land. And a man of, I've heard that a famine is basically indicative of judgment. Because, well, we'll get to it. God gives rain, right? God gives the former rain, God gives the latter rain. So if there's no rain, then the heaven has been shut up. And we see that God actually punishes Israel. He says that's a warning. If you guys turn away from me, then basically the earth is going to be like bronze or something. Or the heaven is going to be like bronze. And the earth is going to be like some other strong metal. Where it's not yielding up any of its fruit, right? From the land. And then the sky is not giving you any water. And so, I mean, if you even consider countries or areas that have a lot of desert. Well, Timmy brought this up in Bible study yesterday, that Israel is one of the top producers, like the country Israel. They're one of the top producers when it comes to agriculture and fruit and all that vegetable stuff, right? How is that? When the one thing that I remember about learning about all those countries over there is that they're literally, a lot of them is just desert. That's why wilderness is so common over there. When we read about wilderness or the wilderness in the Bible, it's literally just the desert. That's what it means. It doesn't mean like a forest. That's what wilderness means to somebody from Georgia, right? Or the South. But wilderness in the Bible means desert. There's so much desert over there because that land has been judged so severely. And to even consider how wicked the land was, like I'm bringing this all the way back to the day of Joseph, where Joseph had that dream about the 7 years of famine. Because literally it was just his family that had any fear of God. Out of all the people that live on earth, it was just the family of Jacob that had any fear of the Lord. And there was famine. And even in the days of Noah, they still had the curse over the land from Adam's sin, but God didn't lift that curse until Noah got off the boat. And there was famine in the land. And so just keep that in mind. So we understand that the people are literally as wicked as it gets in the days of the judges. And it says, then there was a famine in the land. And a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to reside in the land of Moab and with his wife and his 2 sons. It says the name of the man was Elimelech. Can you look up what his name means? Elimelech. Ruth chapter 1, verse 2.
That's kind of cool.
My God is king.
That'd be a cool kid's name. Well, I don't know his story, though.
Well, I mean, I already told you. So the name of his wife was Naomi. What does Naomi mean? My delight. It's a good name for a daughter. And the names of their two sons was Mahlon and Chilion, right? So it says the Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. All right, so they were from tribe of Ephraim. So they entered the land of Moab and remained there. So why are they in Moab? Now the Moabites are cousins to the Israelites because the Moabites came about when one of Lot's daughters. Yeah, it could be. That might even be Eli's real name. So that's an inside joke though. But one of Lot's daughters, after Sodom and Gomorrah, they were staying there. Then it got decimated, but God saved them from that decimation. Both of his daughters were like, "How are we going to have husbands now? Our husbands died." And so they thought it would be a great idea to make their father Lot get drunk, make him know them, and then they had son uncles. So one of their son uncles, I think it was the Ammonites, and the other one was the Moabites. And so Moabites are incest offspring. I'm bringing this up for a reason, because Ruth is a Moabite. So they end up in Moab because they're cousins, right? So it's like they should be, there should be peace between us. And there's famine in the land, so they're just trying to survive pretty much. And so they end up in Moab, these Ephraimites. So it says, then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her two sons. And they took for themselves Moabite women as wives. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other, Ruth. Did I say that right? Yeah, Orpah. And the name of the other was Ruth. It says, and they lived there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion, I know I said their names differently, both of the sons died. And the woman was left without her two sons and her husband. This is 5 verses into chapter 1. Naomi's life sucks. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for even watching, though. So, verse 6 now. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the land of Moab, because she had heard in the land of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them food. So look. They went to Moab because there was a famine. They ended up staying there for like 10 something years, right? And then after her husband dies, and after both of her sons die in this foreign land, she then gets word that God has given the people, his people, God's people, their brothers and sisters, the rest of the tribes of Israel, food. So she's about to go back. It says, so she departed from the place where she was, and her two daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, go, return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May the Lord grant that you may find a place of rest, each one in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they raised their voices and wept. So she blesses them with that, right? She even prays that they find a new husband, a new household. Then she kisses them, and they all cried together, like women do. However, they said to her, no, but we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, return, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Return, my daughters, go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I said I have hope, if I said I have hope, if I were even to have a husband tonight and also give birth to sons, would you therefore wait until they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is much more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has come out against me. And they raised their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. And then she said, behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, do not plead with me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you sleep, I will sleep. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Oh, such a bar. I mean, that's so anointed, even today. So, okay, It says, where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and worse, if anything but death separates me from you. Powerful. Just let that sink in a little bit. All right, verse 18. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her about it. So they both went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they had come to Bethlehem, all the city was stirred because of them. And the woman said, is this Naomi? But she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara. Mara means bitter, right? Yeah. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has afflicted me? And remember, what does Naomi mean?
I forgot.
My delight. So she feels afflicted by God. So Naomi returned, and with her Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, who returned from the land of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest.
Can you sum that up again?
Sum that up. So we jump out of the book of Judges right into the book of Ruth. And Ruth is the daughter-in-law of a woman named Naomi, who ended up living among the Moabites. Moabites are Lot's brother sons, or whatever. I said that wrong, but anyway. So the Moab, they're related to Israel in a sense. They're like cousins. So this guy who's an Ephraimite takes his two sons and his wife, because there's a famine in the land of like Israel. So there's a famine in Canaan, there's a famine beyond the Jordan, and they go to live in the land of Moab because basically everyone's livelihood sucks because there's a famine, nothing's growing. Mm-hmm. And while they are there in Moab, the two sons take for themselves wives. One name is Orpah and the other name is Ruth. But here's the thing. The father, Elimelech, ends up dying in Moab. And not only him, but both of the sons also end up dying. So literally the money makers, the legal money makers, right? Their entire livelihood gone in this foreign country. And then after all the men die in the house of Naomi, who is the wife, the widowed wife of Elimelech, she gets word that there's no longer a famine in Israel or among the Israelites. So now she's about to go back. But she's about to go back, and she's saying to her daughters-in-law who are still alive, y'all don't have to come with me. I actually bless y'all to go and find another house. You know, death did y'all apart. I'll release you. But Ruth said, wherever you go, I will go. Right? Where you stay, I'm staying. Your people are going to be my people. Your God will be my God. And may death do us part. Only death do us part. And so when Naomi saw the determination of Ruth to basically just abide with her, Naomi takes Ruth with her back to, I guess, wherever the Ephraimites stay. And so they leave the land of Moab. It says, and they came to Bethlehem during the harvest season. And so now it's just Naomi and Ruth. And Naomi left Israel during the famine, full house, right? She had her sons, had her husband. They get married. The sons get married. But then she leaves Moab with just Ruth. But now she's back among the brethren in Israel at Bethlehem in Judah. So now Naomi had a relative of her husband, a man of great wealth of the family of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. Man, there's this funny meme. It's not even a meme. It was a pastor he was preaching. It is so funny. It's so anointed. But okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I want to play it because I'm not going to do it justice. No, it's not. But there's this preacher speaks. No way it was Jensen Franklin. No. It was Jensen Franklin? I never even noticed that. That's the pastor of the church down, or technically down the street of Free Chapel. Bro, I never noticed that. This is hilarious, though. Okay, we're about to listen to this. This is a Georgia pastor. I'm just, you got to listen to it.
You know, we everybody's trying to get right. We want the right. See, some of you, how many single folks do I have here tonight? Let me see your hand. I got a word for you single folks. You know, Boaz and Ruth waited for her Boaz. She wouldn't just settle for anybody. The Bible said Boaz was a handsome man, a rich man, a spiritual man, a sensitive man, and that equals a husband. You gotta wait. You gotta wait on your Boaz. Don't just settle. But if you're not careful, when you go left and it's Friday night and you don't have a date and you're freaking out. I don't have a date. I didn't get married until I was 25. And you know, I just made a decision. I knew there was a call on my life. And I just said, I'm not going to go out and date just anybody and everybody. Because I know me. So I can remember Pastor Hagee, I used to get ready and get all dressed up on Friday night to see what I would look like if I did have a date. You know, if you're a half a person and you keep going left and you're so needy, you just take anything. I'll take him, I'll take her. You're going to keep attracting half people. But if you'll stay out there and get comfortable being with yourself and with God, you'll attract a whole person. Don't despise left. God's using left to get you right. Don't freak out because it's Friday night and you're in Saturday night and you're in church instead of the club. Boaz has some relatives, and if you don't watch it, you won't get the one God has for you. You'll get his relatives. To the girls, I found this on the internet. Boaz is spelled B-O-A-Z. Everybody say B-O-A-Z. And so he's got some relatives called broke ass, po ass, lying ass, cheating ass, dumb ass, drunk ass. Don't go out with him. Cheap ass. Turn to somebody and say, I dated him. Locked up ass, good for nothing ass, lazy ass.
What? He made that?
And especially his third cousin beating your ass.
Wait, why is he saying that?
Wait on your
Is he just
ass
making
and
that
make
up?
sure he
Oh my
respects your
goodness.
ass.
What?
Now, there's a word. You want me to work?
No way.
Bro.
Anything on two legs. Let God take you through some loneliness. Let God take you through the wilderness.
Man, I don't even know how I came across that. That was years ago I watched that video. Oh,
He really said that.
he said he found it on the internet, babe. Talking about where he get it from. He said you better watch out. You need to wait for your Boaz before you end up with one of his relatives. Broke ass, cheating ass. They say his third cousin beating your ass.
Oh my goodness.
He said beating your ass.
I know. That was funny.
Oh man, that is hilarious. I almost couldn't even let it get to the punchline. Oh man, I was getting hot just thinking about it already.
What?
It was so funny when I first, cause I didn't look at it like the edit I saw didn't have the subtitles. So when he said the beating your ass, I was so like weak, like I was on the ground rolling around. Cause you know what? I did not know that was Jensen Franklin though. Like wow, I never noticed
I was
that.
talking about that church today. Indeed.
Might visit this Sunday. It's closer. All right, but back to Boaz. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but just look up Pastor Teaches Boaz Family Tree. Perfect. I should do one of those reaction videos where people just put their head at the bottom and you don't know they're actually there until like
Okay, hold on. You would be literally the best person. We would be okay, I'm saying you, but this would be fun. Reacting to things like that. Because you have a lot to say.
We even have a lot to say.
about things like that.
Like what, baby?
You like watching, you know what I mean?
His third cousin beating your man. I can't. He literally. That was 10 years ago, but he literally did that. Broke ass, cheating ass, lying ass.
Yeah.
Man.
And it's funny because he can say that because that word's in the Bible. But he was saying AZ, but yeah.
Church that day had to have been so funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much power
I
in
know.
making people laugh. Everybody got saved that night. That's literally a Jordan. He's literally right up the road.
Yeah.
Technically, it's maybe like 30 minutes, but yeah. All right. That's a big pastor. Anyway, let's keep reading though. So chapter 2, we're gonna finish Ruth and then we'll get off. I got a lot to say about this actually, but we'll finish it regardless. There's nothing to do after this. So now Naomi had a relative of her husband, a great man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, please let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain following one in whose eyes I may find favor. And she said to her, go, my daughter. So, I mean, we'll get to it, but Ruth understands something. And she's getting there. But she wants to go and glean. So the thing about owning property, back then, people like of great wealth like Boaz, you were never allowed by God, by Levitical law, to harvest all of your field. God said y'all need to leave some for basically widows and orphans. And so Ruth is saying, I want to go out and glean, because they don't have anything. They have no way of getting wealth because there's no man in the house anymore. There's no way of owning anything really because there's no man either. So she wants to go and glean, which is kind of like take the scraps of somebody else's harvest. And she says, if I find favor in somebody's eyes, so she's basically hoping to find favor from someone who owns something, right? So she can take from their property, take from their land. Because she's not actually an Israelite. She's a Moabite. But Naomi's so old, right? So Naomi can't go out into the field and be the one to go and collect the harvest. And so Ruth, somehow they realize that people aren't like of their tribe. So she's just saying, maybe somebody will show me favor and let me take from the land, take from the harvest, even though I'm not an Israelite. So verse 3. So she left and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to the portion of the field belonging to Boaz, who was in the family of Elimelech. And so Elimelech was Naomi's husband, right? So it's Ruth's father-in-law, who's dead though. Now behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said to the reapers, may the Lord be with you. And they said to him, may the Lord bless you. Then Boaz said to his servant who was in charge of the reapers, whose young woman is this? And the servant in charge of the reapers replied, she is the young Moabite woman who returned with Naomi from the land of Moab. Excuse me. And she said, please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and has remained from the morning until now. She has been sitting in the house for a little while. Then Boaz said to Ruth, listen carefully, my daughter. Do not go to glean in any other field. Furthermore, do not go on from this one, but join my young women here. Keep your eyes on the field which they reap and go after them. Indeed, I have ordered the servants not to touch you. When you are thirsty, go to the water jars and drink from what the servants draw. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your sight that you should take notice of me since I am a foreigner? Boaz replied to her, all that you have done for your mother-in-law after the death of your husband has been fully reported to me, and how you left your father and your mother and the land of your birth and came to a people that did not know, or that did not previously, that you did not previously know. So why did she get favor? Because of what she decided, what she basically committed herself to do for Naomi. Now keep in mind, Naomi's old. And so Naomi's, she was about to take that travel from Moab back to Bethlehem by herself. And Ruth said, Basically, God forbid, I'm going with you. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. You're not about to go by yourself. I'm going with you. And so news of that reached the ears of Boaz, who was of the household of basically the father-in-law that's dead. Boaz said, I've heard of this, and that's how she got favored, from doing something honorable. So in honoring Naomi, that brought her favor with someone who heard about that honorable action. So I'll just bring up, how do I get favored? Be honorable. And literally, to be considered honorable is to be someone who is honor able. You know what I'm saying? And so what classifies somebody as honorable is the same thing that classifies John the Baptist as John the Baptist. You get the title because that's what you do. And so if you want to be titled as honorable, right, you need to honor other people. You need to be able to honor others. And understand, that might be a Bible verse in Proverbs somewhere. It should be, but maybe I'm not aware of it at this time. But literally showing honor gets you so much favor. And look what happened. Where this is a woman that doesn't even belong to the land. But because she was honorable, she honored Naomi, this widow woman who she could have just left. She went back with Naomi to her land. The basically rich guy comes and says, hey, I'll take care of you. You don't even have to worry about going to anybody else's land. I heard what you did. And because of that, you're going to be able, it says to sit with his young women or whatever. Yeah. It says, go and join my young women here. And so where she should not have any place, because she was honorable, she found place. Glory to God. So Boaz replied to her, I'm reading 11 again. All that you have done for your mother-in-law after the death of your husband has been fully reported to me, and how you left your father and your mother and the land of your birth and came to a people that you did not previously know. Verse 12, may the Lord reward your work, and may your wages be full from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. So look at this. I don't believe in that prosperity gospel. May the Lord reward you for your work, and may your wages be full from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Then she said, I have found favor in your sight, my Lord, for you have comforted me indeed, and indeed have spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not like one of your female servants. And at mealtime, Boaz said to her, come here that you may eat of the bread and dip your piece of bread in the vinegar. So that's what we did at church at the table. So she sat beside the reapers, and he served her roasted grain, and she ate and was satisfied and had some left. Look at this. So she doesn't even have place, not just having place, but she's having abundance. She was able to eat with everyone else. And it says she ate until she was satisfied, even having leftovers. When she got up to glean, Boaz commanded his servants, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not insult her. Also, you are to purposely slip out for her some grain from the bundles and leave it so that she may glean and do not rebuke her. So what is he saying? Drop stuff on purpose, right? Leave stuff behind on purpose for her, and don't say a word to her. Don't be mean to her. Don't rebuke her. Don't chastise her. Help her. So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she I'm kidding. So then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And because in this grain, you got to separate the edible part from the inedible part. And an ephah is a lot. And she picked it up and went into the city. And her mother-in-law saw that she had gleaned. She also took some out and gave Naomi what she had left after she was satisfied. Her mother-in-law then said to her, where did you glean today, and where did you work? May he who took notice of you be blessed. So she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, and said, the name of the man with whom I work today is Boaz. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, may he be blessed of the Lord, who has not withdrawn his kindness from the living and from the dead. Again, Naomi said to her, the man is our relative. He is one of our redeemers. Then Ruth the Moabitess said, furthermore, He said to me, you are to stay close to my servants until they have finished all my harvest. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Ruth, it is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, so that others do not assault you in another field. So she stayed close to the young women of Boaz in order to glean until the end of the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, and she lived with her mother-in-law. So what's the whole point of bringing up he's one of our redeemers? Well, there's this Jewish custom, and it's called a kinsman redeemer. So we know what kinsman is, a relative. So a relative redeemer. And we're familiar with this. This is the whole thing about when, I think it was Simeon. He had a son, and the son got married to a foreign woman, but the son died. But because there's this law of kinsman redeemer now, but they understood the concept even back then. There's this law now of a kinsman redeemer where if a husband marries and he has brothers and he doesn't have any sons or any children, but really sons with this woman, and this man dies and leaves the woman a widow, and there's no one to continue on with the man's legacy, then the next person, like the next closest relative, is supposed to go and basically have a child with this woman and redeem the bloodline of his lost brother. There's a kinsman redeemer. And I mean, I like that concept so much because Jesus Christ is our kinsman redeemer. Because consider the fact, there's this woman who lost her husband, right? She lost the wealth. She lost ownership. She lost all authority when she lost her husband. And then not only that, there is nobody to continue the bloodline. So this woman is effectively worthless. And so that's literally the position that not only Naomi, but also Ruth is in right now. But there is a kinsman redeemer to redeem you from being worthless, right? And so here we have it. There's Boaz, this man of great wealth, where Naomi and Ruth are literally worthless, right? Now there's a man who can come and redeem them and give them value again, right? Purpose again. And that is Christ for us, where we were worthless in this world, having lost everything, right? Being effectively destroyed, bound to hell. There came someone who redeemed us and he gave us value, right? And that is literally Christ. And so keep that in mind as we're reading this. So let's go on to the next chapter. Then her mother-in-law Naomi said to, oh yeah, my bad. Let me put the verses back up. Then her mother-in-law Naomi said to her, my daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may go well for you? Now then, is Boaz not our relative, with whose young women you were? Behold, he is winnowing barley at the threshing floor tonight. Wash yourself, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not reveal yourself to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And it shall be when he lies down that you shall take notice of the place where he lies, and you shall go and uncover his feet and lie down. Then he will tell you what you should do. Now, this concept is also written in the Levitical law. Now, there was a thing with the whole kinsman redeemer where the woman was supposed to basically like let the man know that he is the kinsman redeemer, because that is an obligation. You cannot refuse it. And there's a punishment to the man that refuses it. All I can't remember if the person is supposed to be put to death, but I do remember that the woman's supposed to spit in his face. And so that was the whole point of her uncovering his feet.
The sandal thing.
The sandal thing, yeah. And so that's the whole point of that right there. It's to let him know, hey, you have an obligation to fulfill. And so, right, verse 4 again. And it shall be when he lies down that you shall take notice of the place where he lies, and you shall go and uncover his feet and lie down. Then he will tell you what you should do. And she said to her, all that you say, I will do. So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law had commanded her. Very wise. When Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came secretly and uncovered his feet and lay down. And it happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, a woman was lying at his feet. Luckily, he didn't give her the ick. So he said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your slave. Now spread your garment over your slave, for you are a redeemer." Then he said, "May you be blessed of the Lord, my daughter. You have shown your..." Now that was just a more like, what's the word? Meek way of saying servant, this word here. But we've, conjured it up to mean what it means today, slave. Then he said, "May you be blessed of the Lord, my daughter. You have shown your last kindness to be better than the first, by not going after young men, whether poor or rich. So now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you say, for all my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence." Hey, glory to God. You're a woman of excellence, baby. So, but now, although it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is also a redeemer more closely related than I. Dun, dun, dun. See, that's the twist. If this was a soap opera, that there's actually somebody that's more closely related than Boaz. "So remain this night, and when morning comes, if he will redeem you, good. Let him redeem you. But if he does not wish to redeem you, then I will redeem you as the Lord lives. Lie down until morning." So she, why'd I do that? So here, verse 14. "So she lay at his feet until morning and got up before one person could recognize another. And he said, 'Do not let it be known that the woman came to the threshing floor.' Again he said, 'Give me the shawl that is on you and hold it.' So she held it, and he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. When she came to her mother-in-law, she said, 'How did it go, my daughter?' And she told her all the man had done for her. She also said, 'These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said, do not go to your mother-in-law empty-handed.' Then she said, 'Wait, my daughter, until you know how the matter turns out.' Hey, for the man will not rest until he has settled it today." Look at this. That's the type of man Rotimi is. It says he will not rest until he has settled this matter today. That's a funny joke, that Boaz cast his bread upon the waters. They don't even know that proverb unless they watch the, let me not even joke like that. So this is the last chapter of Ruth. Verse 1. "Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz spoke was passing by. So he said, 'Come over here, friend, sit down here.' And he came over and sat down. Then he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, 'Sit down.' So they sat. And he said to the Redeemer, 'Naomi, who has returned from the land of Moab, has to sell the plot of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. So I thought that I would inform you, saying, buy it before those who are sitting here and before the elders of my people, if you will redeem it. But if not, tell me so that I may know, for there is no one except you to redeem it, and I am after you.'" So look at this. Woman can't even own property. So what does she have to do? She has to sell the land that belonged to her husband. She's been there, right? That was their property even before they went to live in Moab all those years ago. But because she's a woman, she's not allowed to own it. Because there's no men in the house, they can't keep it, so they have to sell it. So somebody needs to redeem all of it, right? And so Boaz is telling the other guy, "Hey, I don't know if you know this is going on, but you have an obligation because Naomi's about to have to sell this land because a man needs to own it, and you're the closest relative to keep this in the household." Because what's his name? Elimelech, his direct bloodline is gone. Both of his sons died, he died. So the closest relative, he's letting him know this is happening. You need to do something about it. Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also acquire Ruth, the Moabitess, the widow of the deceased, in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance," right? Then the Redeemer said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, otherwise I would jeopardize my own inheritance." So this guy's probably married, right? And so he's like, "Hey, there's a sticky situation for me." So what does he say? "You redeem it. You may have my right of redemption, since I cannot redeem it." Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning the redemption and the exchange of land to confirm any matter. A man removed his sandal and gave it to another, and this was the way of confirmation in Israel. So the Redeemer said to Boaz, buy it for yourself, and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witness today that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belongs to Elimelech and all that belongs to Chilion and Mahlon. Furthermore, I have acquired Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, to be my wife in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance, so that the name of the deceased will not be eliminated from his brothers or from the court of his birthplace. You are my witness today. And all the people who were in the court and the elders said, we are witness. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built the house of Israel. They don't even know how prophetic this was. And may you achieve wealth in, no, they probably do, in Ephrathah, and become famous in Bethlehem. Moreover, may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, through the descendants whom the Lord will give you by this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he had relations with her, and the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. Then the woman said to Naomi, blessed is the Lord who has not left you without a redeemer today, and may his name become famous in Israel. May he also be to you one who restores life and sustains your old age for your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better than 7 sons. To you than 7 sons has given birth to him. I said that all types of wrong. Let me read verse 15 again. May he also be to you one who restores life and sustains your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons has given birth to him. Dun, dun, dun. Check this out. Then Naomi took the child and laid him in her lap and became his nurse. And the neighbor woman gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. So they named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse, who is the father of David, the Johansson. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron, Hezron fathered Ram, and Ram fathered Amminadab. And Amminadab fathered Nahshon, and Nahshon fathered Salmon, and Salmon fathered Boaz, and Boaz fathered Obed, and Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David. So check that out. Not only did Ruth the Moabite, the foreigner, find a redeemer, right? Not only did she find a redeemer, but Boaz and herself had a child, and this child was literally the grandfather of David. And so when we recount the lineage of Jesus Christ in the Gospels, what do we find? Ruth is in the family tree. This Moabitess woman that came from a nation of, the nation literally came about because of incest.
Just like how you're saying that God just uses the most
the most unlikely, the most unsuspecting people. I saw a meme, not a meme. Why is everything a meme to me?
See, that's why I'm telling you, you should do the reaction.
I saw a reel of Miles Monroe, and he was talking about how when you pour water from a bottle into some other container, the water bottle that you pour from is a source, but whatever that container is now becomes a resource. Mm-hmm. A resource. So the bottle is the source, and it was a glass cup, is a resource. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing that up because that is how we are with God. If we will allow ourselves to be open vessels, allowing God to be our source, we then become a resource of God. No matter our past, no matter how dirty we were, right? No matter where we came from, no matter the things we did, no matter what was even inside of us before God came. When we decided we're going to let God be the source, we then become the resource of God. And so when it looks like, he used Ruth. Ruth is not even an Israelite. It doesn't matter. She said, your God will be my God to Naomi. And then she became a resource of God. So much so that she is included in the lineage of Christ himself, this Moabite woman. And if I mean, in the Gospels, they go even further back. But you got to remember that this line of men, Perez, let me look it up. I know what I want to say, but I want to see how far ago it was. Bible. This line of men, the Perez is, let me look it up in the gospel. Breach burst. Okay, let me just look up Jesus family tree then. Nice, I found a good picture. Oh, I should show you guys, but I'm not. So, from Judah had to be the kinsman redeemer to Tamar. And Tamar, or I don't remember how it was, but Tamar gave birth to this guy named Zerah and Perez, and they were twins. Now, Perez, his son Salmon, guess who Salmon's wife was? Does anybody know? I'll give you a second. Because Salmon was the father of Boaz. But guess who Salmon's wife was? I'll give you a little more. Do you want to read it for us? Who Salmon's wife was? Boaz's mother? Rahab. Boaz's mother is Rahab, the prostitute from Jericho. And Boaz was a wealthy man. Mm-hmm. So there's a prostitute and there's a incest baby in the lineage of Jesus Christ, the man Jesus Christ. And it's so closely related to, because Rahab is literally Boaz's mother.
Wait, why does it say Solomon then?
Let me look it up. Because I could, Solomon is from, wait, you don't know this yet. We're getting ahead of ourselves, too far ahead of ourselves. Let me be sure. Could be his grandmother. But either way, it's of his mother's. Boaz family tree. It's a lot of clicking. Dun, 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 dun. Are you thinking of that too?
No, it's because you were doing that yesterday too.
That beat is just so good. Okay. But again, his girl's dad got some guala.
That was a while ago.
Oh, it was a while?
Yeah, he said that.
Oh my, I can't see over this. But you guys, you cannot count yourselves out.
Yeah.
Rotimi taught yesterday about how Jesus fed the thousands. And he mentioned how God can do so much more with our little, right? So when you consider yourself to be little in your own sight, even still, when God gets his hands on you, when Jesus broke the bread and he prayed over it, he blessed it, he lifted up and he blessed it, right? It multiplied. So what happens when Christ takes the beggar from the dunghill and sets you on high and blesses you? You only have one thing to do after that. As a resource of Christ, let him multiply you, because he could do so much more with you than you could even fathom. My wife made me this bracelet.
It's so old.
She gave it to me on our first date. She was on her way to a mission trip to Moabamba somewhere.
Peru.
And she had a layover in Atlanta, which was cool because I had seen her one time before that. And my second time seeing her was just like divine timing because she had already been planning on going on this this mission trip before I even met her. She already paid for it and everything. I think I sold into it though. But she already paid for it and everything. But we didn't start dating until October. Her mission trip was in November? But I met her in August. And so I met her one time, talked to her, all that stuff, and I just knew she was the one. And we literally just agreed, all right, we're gonna be together. And I saw her once. But the thing is, she's going on a mission trip and she had already planned to. And she didn't even know this until like the day of. But on their way to Peru, they had a layover, and guess where the layover was? Hartsfield Jackson, ATL. And so when I didn't even know my next time when I was going to see her, I was planning for it to be in December after I did a revival with Rotimi and his wife. God made it so that I got to see her again in literally the next month after we officially started, after we officially covenanted with each other that we were going to be together. And then when I went to go get her from the airport on her layover, she gave me this.
It's pretty much a bunch of knots. So it's like that lanyard string, not lanyard string, it's like literally just regular string that you use for bracelets, and you just tape it to the table and you just do knots.
She said your dress is cute.
Oh, thank you. I thrifted it. Okay, what were we talking about?
Just talking about how either Boaz's mother or grandmother was Rahab, the prostitute from one of his maymays. But I have to look at the lineage of Jesus, actually. What is that, Matt? Is it Luke?
You can make so many of them. They're so much fun, but they take like a long time to make, like hours. But it's like, you can make like, if you go on like bracelet.com, they have like patterns you can do. And I made like a Minecraft one before. It was like a thicker one, like this thick, like that thick. And it was like the grass blocks with like the hearts. And the hearts were like half, like the lives. It was really cool. Yeah, they're fun. I gotta make them another one because it's like almost a year old. They stay on for so long.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like worn out. That's crazy how this can last that long. It's just string. Yeah. They have tons of patterns. I think it's called Bracelet Book. Dang, I had that song stuck in my head.
Yeah, I was right. I remembered it correctly. Boaz's mother is Rahab. That's crazy. Man, I hope I got a reel out of that.
You did.
But man, never count yourself out when you become a resource of God. Let him use you and you'll do things, or God will do things through you that you'll be so grateful and thankful for it. Like the whole thing about feeling fulfilled, like your life having purpose. You only know your life's purpose when you become a resource of the Lord, because he's the one that created you. And so if you're not letting him use you, then you cannot be sure that you are ever actually doing what you were made to do, because your purpose comes from your creator. So you're not going to get your purpose unless you get to your creator. But the thing is, that's why we get redeemed, because we live so long sometimes away from our purpose. We end up in such a ditch, but then somebody comes and redeems us and brings us out of this death and into life, into purpose, into covenant, into wealth, into health, and into literally long life, peace, goodness, love, joy, righteousness. You gotta let God love you. God's the only man that should use you. In Jesus' name. I literally ran through the book of Ruth in like 30 minutes. But We got to one of the best books in the Bible.
I feel like you say that about like every other book.
Yes, I do. 1 Samuel. We're getting into the age of the prophets.
And his wives.
Talking about and his wives.
Elkanah and his wives.
All right, baby. But I'm just excited because we're not too far away from. Yep. I said that before. I remember Job. I forgot Job was before Psalm, so never mind. Now, you guys, when we get to Job, I can't explain everything. Honestly, I don't even really understand what is right and what is wrong. But I am going to be praying that God reveals it to me as we go along, because there are things I can't explain about Job, like how Job didn't have the same covenant we have. He didn't even have the covenant of Abraham, and that theologians also surmise that Job was actually written before any of the other books of the Bible, meaning that Job was written before the law was even given, which means because Moses wrote the law, and Moses also wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. So Moses wrote Genesis, that Job was written even before Moses got the revelation on the first 5 books. And having that, right, the Torah, if Job was written before the Torah, then the events of Job had to have happened, and these had to be real events because they were real people. Yeah. So, in between the time of what Jacob had, was it Jacob? No. Isaac. Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. Now, Job had a friend who was an Edomite, and so an Edomite is a descendant of Esau, one of the twin brothers from Isaac. So, Holy Spirit reminded me of that. So knowing that the book of Job, if it was written before the law, so it was written before Moses wrote anything, it had to happen between the time of Esau and Moses. So the whole thing about Abraham and the covenant doesn't make sense, because Abraham comes before Isaac. And if Job had a friend who was an Edomite, it had to have at least been between that time and that time. And so what you can say, because I was just repeating something that I heard, what you can say is that Job did not have the same covenant as a Levite. He was not under the Levitical covenant. And so because he was not under the Levitical covenant, that would give us one. We can also make this distinction about Job. Job obviously was not an Israelite. Let me make sure about that, because I guess that's not obvious. No, actually, no. Job could not have been an Israelite, because the devil couldn't touch Israelites the way he touched Job. What is that? Who sent that? I sent that?
No, someone sent it.
From where?
This company or something.
Wait, who screenshotted that?
This
What
is
that
on Cole. This is through Cole.
Let me read this all out. Dear Alonzo DeVette, I hope this email finds you well. My name is Jessica, and I'm honored to serve as the Chief Executive Officer at this place. Our mission is to foster vibrant connections between individuals and their faith communities through our innovative app. I recently had privilege to discover your inspiring content on YouTube, and I was deeply moved by its profound impact on the spiritual community. We would be honored to invite you to join our esteemed Faith Community Leaders Program and share your uplifting content on our platform. Please give me some potential benefit, blah, blah, blah.
That's cool. Wow.
Hey, glory to God.
Glory.
I got some research to do, you guys.
Wow.
Somebody just asked if they can use my videos to share on their app, and I'm obviously going to let them do that. But I got to figure out what they're requesting of me. So thank you all for watching. Yeah, it is an inside scoop. We are literally going to be back to doing testimony videos. Woo! My favorite thing to do
Oh
is
my goodness,
listen.
you have to watch this next one.
Is listen to somebody
Your two next ones, but
tell me about what God has done in their life.
yeah, they're so good.
But the testimonies won't be live because I have to properly edit those. So I'm not gonna just hop in front of the camera with the people. And I'm gonna let it be like an intimate thing, but obviously I have their permission to record it and release it. But I have to do like flips and stuff because the way we see that, I have 2 cameras now. So nevertheless, we're gonna be back with testimonial content. We have people coming to tell their testimonies. It's gonna be great. And I have some to record tomorrow. Glory to God. I'm actually so excited for that because I haven't done a testimonial video ever since I got the new stuff in the room.
Tomorrow, what time?
Does it matter? Well, I have one tomorrow at 11 a.m. and I have another one tomorrow evening with Frank and Audrey. Miss Stephanie's coming in the morning. I have to check back in with everybody. But Miss Stephanie's coming in the morning, and then Frank and Audrey are coming in the evening. And I'm trying to get a day together so I can have Marcus come as well.
Yeah,
But, oh man.
lots of testimonies.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
But you guys, we'll be back with from Genesis to Revelation. We got to the book of Samuel. There's so much revelation, you guys. So much. We're in a good part of the Bible to really retain. And be looking out for any of Rotimi's random broadcasts that he does for X. He's the founder of coleministries.org. And if you would like to partner with us, if you want to find more of our content, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. But please just visit us at coleministries.org. I have something. Yeah, you can find out more information. Read the scrolling thing right here, right? Subscribe to everything, find out ways to give, and find more content on coleministries.org. I'm not the only one that's making content for this channel. I have Rotimi Flavini and his wife, Nadine Flavini. A very blessed and anointed man and woman of God. They're a couple, obviously, same last name. And please just stay in contact with us. If you are looking to literally grow in faith, if you want your own testimonies, if you want to be used of God, right? If you want boldness and courage to be able to even share your faith and do it accurately, right? Watch our content. People's lives are changing from the revelation, from the blessing, from the anointing that God has poured into us. And all we're doing is pouring it back out. I want everyone who comes across us to be a part of it. So if you want to receive something that will literally change your life, you can receive the gospel of Jesus Christ with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from us, completely free. All right? In Jesus' name.